Before we get into all that news, though, I had to drive into James Robinson going to the New York Jets happening last night. I have not been able to address this live, so I want to take a few minutes to go through how I think this falls out. The only obvious takeaway from this is that Travis Etienne is going to the moon at this point. Huge fan of his rest of season outlook. In fact, I rank him right around Kenneth Walker, Joe Mixon, that tier of like low-end running back ones. I really, truly believe that's what Etienne's ceiling and floor is getting up there too. Now without James Robinson there. Now we look at the backfield this week with Robinson there. They were already kind of foreshadowing the Etienne takeover. Over 80% of the snaps, 57 of 71, every single third down, nearly all the early downs, and also over half the goal line work. It was a beautiful showing. 67% of rushing attempts, 91% long down and distance, 82% of the 2-minute, 57% of the short yardage work, 100% of the goal line attempts too. So when he was on the field, he was getting used in those short yardage situations. That was a running back one, low-end running back one profile already. Now you get the only potential thorn in his side, James Robinson out. JaMycal Hasty, the only other guy there, maybe a speculative added himself. Nonetheless, this is clearing the path for ETN season. The runway is completely open for blast off, folks. This guy is a supreme talent. And with that increased usage, it wasn't like, yeah, he got usage, but didn't do anything. 14 carries, 114 yards and a score. The only thing that's really missing, he only had one catch for 5 yards. And remember, coming into the league, his whole biggest asset was his pass catching ability, how explosive he was in space. So we could see that get leaned upon even further now with looking like an 80 to 90% snap guy each and every week. Travis Etienne, lock him into your top 15 rest of season running backs, top 10 upside, pretty stacked top 10. So when it's like slotting him in, it was really tricky where to figure it out. You can find those rest of season rankings at rotostreetjournal.com, pinned to the top. So check them on out. Actually, off the top of my head, I don't even remember what exact ranking was. I was not trying to withhold the information from you. I believe it was 12, right below Joe Mixon, if I'm not mistaken. So Travis Etienne goes to the moon. What's the shakeout here for the New York Jets? First, before we dive into that, just a prayers up for Breece Hall. Pour one out. One of the most legendary early rookie seasons of recent memory. The guy was a monster and only getting better by the week. So sucks to know Breece Hall's breakout season, rookie season, gets cut short. It's sickening. I'm trying to like keep a positive face and chat here. It sucks. It really, really sucks. Anybody that had him out there, I'm sorry. Like, this blows. Let's move forward, though, and talk about what this backfield looks like, because we are sickos in fantasy, and we just have to move forward and tell you what is next. Michael Carter, he's actually only 66% rostered. So on a waiver wire show, I wanted him to be one of the first checks. He would definitely be one of my top priority ads this week, even with James Robinson there. Without Breece Hall, once Breece Hall was out, we saw 75% of the snaps go to Michael Carter. That's in line with a lot of the workhorse games we saw last year. He ultimately ran 60% of the routes, all but 2 without Breece Hall. Once he was removed, he had 62% of the carries, but all but 1 without Breece again. So dominant snap share, workload share once Breece was removed. I, of course, don't expect that to continue fully with James Robinson. Why would you trade for James Robinson if you weren't going to actually use him? And I think James Robinson, I'm a huge Robinson believer. I thought he's looked pretty spry to at least to begin the year, coming off a torn Achilles. He's looked as good as anybody has ever had coming off that. Was the running back 3 in fantasy for the first 3 weeks, 19, 15, 20 fantasy points. I think J-Rob's still a beast. I just think it was time to move on and go to the Travis Etienne show here. So I don't know that this trade's any slight on J-Rob. Yeah, he's had a few sluggish moments and still shaking off a little of that injury rust here with 2, 5, 6, and then a whopping 0 fantasy points across his last 4, 15% of the snaps last week. The time has come for him to go somewhere else. What a perfectly open backfield, though. This line is top 15 in the league right now, according to Pro Football's composite grades. They're blocking well. It's not a great offense. They're like, bottom half of the league in points. Zach Wilson sucks. 7th fewest pass attempts in the league per game. But that's okay for us in the running backs. The running back field, they are getting into the red zone. They are scoring points when they need to. So ultimately, I think J-Rob is right around where you would have had him, not early season where he was, again, top 3 running back in the league with the points he was putting out, but that middle of the pack, about 55, 60% of the snaps, I think, go to Michael Carter. About 45 to 50 depending on game flow, I do think we see James Robinson more of the hammer role for a team that's playing great defense, that's getting ahead, and then just pounding teams late with Brees originally. I could see that becoming the James Robinson, just hammer them out. Now, he's no Brees, not going to put up that type of production. Brees said the only running back other than, I think, Christian McCaffrey and Austin Eckler to not have a bottom 24 game. He was monster. That's not going to happen here with James Robinson. He's not as diverse, certainly not as good of a pass catcher, though it's in his wheelhouse. He was a 3-down back for his first 2 seasons with the Panthers there. I mean, the Jaguars there. So ultimately, I do think we see the split favor Carter, but it's a little bit messy. I would consider them both low-end running back 2-ish, like running back 25 through 35. I know that's kind of a messy situation, but around the Kareem Hunts of the world, to see if one of them truly does separate. If one did, I think it'd be Carter, the incumbent. But again, I don't think they trade for James Robinson without the intent to use him, even though it was only a 6th-round pick. So that's how I see this all shaking out. Just to summarize one more time, Travis Etienne to the moon, a top 15 running back, top 10 ceiling rest of the year. We were already seeing the takeover. This locks it in. Then I think about a 50-55 to 45 split favoring Carter, who will also get more of the pass catching work, making him the more valuable guy, 66% rostered. I'd say worth a $15 to $20 bid out there. So that is my take on this news. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments on this James Robinson situation on the Jags. Get those questions on in. And one more time, Wolfpack, that thumbs up button. It's greatly helpful. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments. Check out some more videos and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.